Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, my name's Nicholas and this is Investing Against the Grain. So in today's episode, I want to make a video to show a very simplistic way of analyzing stocks, and more importantly, how to analyze Tesla in comparison to other auto manufacturers such as GM and Ford. Okay, what I want to do is take a very simplistic approach to show you how you can make a very common sense judgment based on some very basic fundamental information. Okay, a lot of times I get asked, hey Nick, how do I figure out what to invest in? How do I understand, if Tesla is a good investment or not? And so with this episode, we're going to take this to a very simplistic understanding, something that's going to not involve anything like EBITDA or COGS or CAGR or anything of that. It's going to be very simple, straightforward, and it's going to make so much logical sense that you're not going to be able to deny it. Okay, and this is how a very good investment should really look, right? It shouldn't be that complicated. So if you enjoy this type of content, if you want to help us out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell. All right, so with that said, let's just go ahead and get right into it. What I have here for you is a quick little spreadsheet that I created where we're going to compare GM, Ford, and Tesla. And we're going to look at, like I said, some very basic metrics. How much debt do they have? First, how much cash do they have? And then we're going to list out some just very high level generic hurdles or objectives that each company has moving forward and just say the next 5 years. Okay, we'll keep it that simple. Okay, so this is no different than what you would do at home for something like your bank account. How much debt do I have in a credit card? How much cash do I have in the bank, right? And from there, we make some decisions and assessments. Now, again, remember, not all debt is bad. There's a difference between credit card debt and a mortgage. There's a difference between a cash equity loan on your house versus, a car loan, right? So these things are different. They're not all created equal, but from a high level, we understand debt, we understand cash, and we understand certain objectives we have over the next 5 years. Okay, so with that as the premise, let's go ahead and take a look. And we'll start off with GM. Okay, we're going to take a look at GM's long-term debt. So I'm going to just be Control Command Z on all these things. I don't have any kind of fancy software here. I just use iMovie. I keep it basic, right? I don't want to spend any money that I have on anything other than shares of Tesla. So very primitive here, but it'll get the job done. So the first thing we're going to look at here is GM's long-term debt. And every figure I show you here is going to be in the billions. All right. So here we see about, call it $73 billion in long-term debt for GM. Okay. So right off the, on the surface here, you might think, well, that's not too bad, right? We know lots of companies take on large amounts of debt. So let's keep this moving. Let's see what else we have. Let's look at Ford. Ford has $103 billion in long-term debt. So just those two numbers, just to start off, we can already see that it looks like GM might be a little healthier than Ford. Okay, we're going to bypass Tesla for this one. I'll explain why in a second. So now let's look at the current debt. So current debt is more so you can think of like short-term debt. And so current debt for GM is about $37 billion. So if we look at the $37 billion, we look at the $73 billion, again, we get a better understanding of where GM's at from a debt perspective. And with Ford, we'll see that they're about $50 billion. Okay, so very clearly, Ford has more debt than what GM has. And again, I'm using these three automakers because they are currently in North America the biggest players out there. Okay, and now let's go ahead and take a look at Tesla. So with Tesla, based on their recent Q2 earnings, we're just looking at their whole debt all together, all aggregated. I didn't break it out to current or long-term debt. It just didn't seem necessary. And the main reason is because they only have $7.8 billion in debt. So if we just go ahead and do a quick aggregation of all of these, along with their current cash, we can see that with GM, they only have $20 billion in cash, which we see right here. Okay, Ford only has $30.7 billion in cash. Meanwhile, Tesla has 16.2. So when we take our debt and we subtract the amount of cash we have, we can see GM is $90 billion in the hole. $90 billion. Ford is 100 and call it $22 billion in the hole. And Tesla, is 8.4 billion in the green, in the profit above ground. Okay, that's pretty profound. Keep in mind, Tesla is entering a new field, a new space that has been dominated by the good old boys, right? The GMs, the Fords, the Stellantis, the Volkswagens, right? It's been nearly impossible for a new car to come and start up, or new car manufacturers start up in this industry. Okay, and yet somehow Tesla has done it with less debt, more profitability, and without a doubt, because they are the newest, the most modern manufacturing plants with the most modern technology and with the most sophisticated processes when it comes to manufacturing and how to do things in-house, right? Rather than having to use all third party for everything. Okay, so just on the surface level, just looking at cash versus debt, this tells us a lot. Okay, you could equate this to somebody who has $200,000 home mortgage, but they only have $20,000 in cash in their bank, versus somebody who has no mortgage debt, they own their house, and then they have another $8,000 in the bank. Who's in a better financial position there? It's not really that complicated to understand, right? I mean, there's obviously a lot that goes into these numbers, but looking at this in a very basic way, this tends to make a lot of sense. Okay, but this is all great but it doesn't tell the whole story, right? Because for all we know, Tesla has a lot of things that they still have to invest in. Okay, that Ford and GM, they may have already made those investments, and that's why their balance sheets look a little, tilted one way compared to Tesla. All right, so let's take a look at some things that GM has to do over the next 5 years and what their goals are. So let's just go ahead and start off here. They have to modify all of their factories to be able to produce electric vehicles. Currently, all their manufacturers are pretty much just ICE vehicle manufacturing plants, internal combustion engines. Okay, aside from the Chevy Bolt, they don't have any electric vehicles. They've announced the Hummer, they've announced the Titan, I believe it is, or maybe it's the Chevy truck. I forget, but they've made some announcements, but they haven't released anything out. So they have to make this transition from ICE manufacturing plants to EV manufacturing plants. And then they have to figure out a way to create batteries in-house. They have to bring that technology in-house. And they're doing a lot of stuff with LG Chem, which seems pretty exciting, right? At least, the CEO of GM talks about it a lot. So, we'll see what comes to fruition there. But, as of right now, it's just a lot of talk. We haven't actually seen anything. Okay? And then they need to figure out, once they have the batteries, once they have transitioned to manufacturing plants to be able to create electric vehicles, they have to figure out how to make them profitable. Okay, this is a big misconception. People think that these automakers can just flip a switch and now they can make EVs. It's just a matter of switching out the powertrain from an internal combustion engine to a battery pack with 2 motors. It doesn't work that way. Okay, when it comes to EVs, there's so much more that goes into it. The vehicle has to be so efficient. Every single gram of weight in the vehicle matters, and it hits the bottom line. Okay? As of right now, the only company out there really profitable with EVs is Tesla. They're the only ones who've managed to figure this out. So there's a huge learning curve, and they're going to have to do this on the fly, right? While they're running, they're going to have to figure this out. Then they also, at the same time, while they're doing all of this, they need to start work on their autonomous technology. Okay, Tesla has FSD, and FSD beta version 10 comes out this Friday, and this may be the big release. This might be the next level step change. This may be the release that allows Tesla to go ahead and go public with the button. And the button, for those of you who don't know, is the wide release of this full self-driving beta software. As of right now, FSD is only released to 2,000 beta users, okay? And these 2,000 users are the only ones who are allowed to use this. And this is how Tesla's been, training and iterating with the software. However, Elon has touted and teased about the button to come out, which would be for a public release of the beta software where you opt into it. That might be coming out this Friday. So with that said, right, GM has to be doing that as well. And they do have their cruise technology, which essentially just keeps you in the lane, but they have a long way to go. So they need to be working on this as fast as they can over the next 5 years. Again, along with the batteries, along with the manufacturing plants, along with figuring out how to get profitable with EVs. Okay, so then GM does have one big headache. The only EV that they've ever really created was the Chevy Bolt. And over the last month, they've gone ahead, stopped production of every single one of them, and have recalled every single one they've ever made due to faulty batteries that are catching on fire within people's houses with these vehicles. Now, I know people are going to say this is a pervasive issue. Tesla has had fires to their batteries as well. This is true. Tesla batteries have caught on fire in crashes, but there's never been what's happening with the Chevy Bolt. These are spontaneously combusting, right? Which it mainly seems like it's a thermal runaway, which you don't need to know what that means. All you need to know is the battery packs aren't able to cool off, okay? Which means that they get overheated and then they combust, and that's where the fire emerges. Okay, it's happened in so many of these vehicles inside so many people's houses that they've gone ahead and recalled and stopped all production of these. This, according to GM, is going to be a $1.2 billion hit for them. Okay, add this into the total of $90 billion. Okay, so this is a big hurdle they're going to have to jump, roadblock, while they're also trying to make this push with everything else that they're doing. Okay, so the last thing they have to really deal with is not killing their current profit engine. And their current profit engine is the internal combustion engine, right? Their current manufacturing plant, their current vehicles, the gas and diesel vehicles that we know and we see outside every single day. While they're making this transition to EVs, while they're changing their manufacturing plants, while they're investing in these new batteries, while they're doing all of this, they have to be very, very careful not to shoot themselves in the foot and kill the thing that actually, puts food on the table for them, okay? They need to keep that cash coming in. And like I noted here, no pun intended on the profit engine, right? But it's very important that they make sure they balance that out very carefully. Otherwise, for lack of a better word, they're going to be screwed. Okay, so now we know where GM stands, right? They have a big 5 years ahead of them. They have a lot to do. They do have a lot of debt, but, when you look at them compared to Ford, they're not that bad, right? Ford looks a lot worse. So let's go ahead and take a look at Ford. So Ford obviously has to go through the same transition. They have to modify the factories for electric vehicles. We've already talked about that. No need to hash that out any deeper. They have to create batteries in-house, okay? Whether it's partnerships with LG Chem, Samsung, there's many battery companies out there. They need to figure something out where they can have 1, volume production of batteries, 2, safe batteries, and 3, making sure that there's some proprietary technology that they're offering to their customers rather than just having to rely completely on third parties, because if that's the case, then they're going to get blown out on margin. Okay, they're just going to get, put over the table with having to buy batteries because, they can be charged anything they want because there's nothing Ford can do, right? They don't hold any proprietary information or technology. So that's very important. Okay, they also need to figure out how to make EVs profitable, all right? Ford hasn't gotten there either. Nobody's gotten there, like I said, except for Tesla. So that's a huge obstacle for Ford. So up to this point, very similar, projections and hurdles and goals for the future, which again, it's wonderful to see all these companies, finally acknowledging electric vehicles are the future. Okay, this is going to be how we get to a sustainable world when it comes to energy, reducing our need for fossil fuels, right? And, hopefully saving the planet, keeping the planet greener, keeping the waters cleaner, right? All that good stuff. So this is very good. I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing on them or sound like it's impossible, right? It's only impossible if they think it is, right? But it is a hurdle and it's not going to be easy, all right? If Elon Musk and Tesla struggle through it, imagine how everyone else is going to be. It's not going to be easy. create autonomous technology. I already made one video on this. Their Blue's Clues, autonomous driving. Sandy Monroe, joked that, that Ford better fix this and make it right, because at Sandy Monroe, who used to work for Ford, he, to quote him, he wants to make sure that his pension is complete and fully vested, right? So he doesn't want Ford to go bankrupt before this. And if they release, their Blue's Clues technology for autonomous driving, right, that's just going to be something that ends up laden with issues and legal and lawsuits and all those things. So, if you saw it, it's a joke. If you haven't seen my video, you can see a link right here. I'll leave a card. But it just wasn't good. It was really bad, especially when you've been seeing all of my FSD videos. It's scary. They really need to start investing in some serious engineers, some serious money, and some serious innovation into that field for them. Okay, but they might have a bigger problem. And I think the bigger problem is that they need to save their Mustang brand. Okay, and this is kind of sentimental for me, right? I get a little nostalgic about this. A Ford Mustang was the very first vehicle I ever had. It was a GT 8-cylinder, beautiful car. I actually sold it recently. I had it for a long time, but this Mach-E, I can't get over this. It is not a Mustang. It is the ugliest Mustang I've ever seen. If you want to call it a crossover, okay, yeah, it's sure. It looks okay as a crossover. But to put the Mustang logo on that piece of crap, I'm sorry, that's not a Mustang. Okay, you are doing a disservice to anyone who's ever been a loyal brand following Mustang customer. Okay, so all right, rant over. But they do have an issue. Okay, so as you can see from this chart, they have nothing but declining sales of Mustang over the years. Okay, right now they're at about 38,000 Mustangs sold. All right, this is dropping every single year. All right, now maybe, last year they had 61,000. Right now they're at 38, about midpoint of the year. Maybe they'll be able to beat what they did last year, but even then, they're not even selling 100,000. This is scary. This is very scary. And this is what they're using for their Mach-E, for their first, electric vehicle. I don't understand this. They have an issue with Mustang brand in general, and then they throw in this hideous looking vehicle, call it a Mustang, and then they make that an electric vehicle. I don't really understand what they're going with this. I would say that Mustang fans aren't probably your main market for electric vehicles. As a Mustang owner, like, you want that rumble. It's a pony car. You want that rumble. You want that grit. You want those back tires squealing. I mean, that's what you get a Mustang for, a muscle car, right? That's what the ponies are about. So you might be going for the wrong crowd. And I'm not saying that EVs aren't fun and extremely fast, because they are. All I'm saying is, when you buy a Mustang, you buy it for certain reasons. Okay? That's like me going to buy a Harley and, having it very quiet. Right? No, the Harley logo is loud pipes save lives. I want that rumble. Okay? And even then, if I'm making my first entry into a market, I don't want to go for the most skeptical bunch of people. Okay? Ford's also looking at the Ford Lightning for the next one. Right? That's their next EV. Okay, I get it, Ford. F-150 is your biggest market. Okay? That is your profit engine as a company. Right? But again, to go to the next point here, you're going to kill your profit engine if you just go straight to the Ford F-150. That doesn't make a lot of sense. You're better off making a new truck from the ground up dedicated towards electric vehicle, right? Stop trying to, mix and match and bolt on just a electric powertrain onto a form factor you already have. Again, the trucking community is not the main community who will want electric vehicles at first. All right, why are you choosing to have an uphill battle for no reason? This makes no sense, okay? And it's not like I'm here saying, hey, I only want Tesla to win. I'm saying this because we need everybody to win in this, right? We need everybody to stay alive, because Tesla's not going to be able to make every single vehicle out there into an electric vehicle, all right? It's going to take more companies. But this approach from Ford, this approach from GM is going to leave them dead. They will not last a decade if they keep down this path. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to change. I don't think they're going to pivot. They're stubborn. They won't even listen to Sandy Monroe, who used to work for them. They won't listen to him, right? Like, he's telling them the same things I'm saying. I'm not saying anything new, right? And he's way more reputable than I am. I'm just a former mechanical electrical engineer turned into software systems engineer. He has been doing this for 50, 60 years. Maybe I'm exaggerating there, maybe 40, 50 years. But he's worked at Ford. He's worked at these companies. He's been doing this. He's been in this industry, and they won't listen to him. Insane. Okay, so those are the things that Ford and GM have to do moving forward. Okay, so we've talked about these are their goals for the next 5 years, right? Lots of hurdles, lots of objectives, but also a lot of opportunities here. Okay, where there's an objective or hurdle, there's also an opportunity. They do have to get their cash flow issue here under control, right? 90 billion, 122 billion after taking cash into account, that's not good. They have to deal with that. So between looking at their long-term current debt, looking at the amount of cash they have and their total debt, seeing where they are, what they have to do over the next 5 years, let's contrast that to Tesla and see what Tesla looks like. So as we said before, compared to GM and Ford, Tesla's actually in the green. They have more cash than debt. Okay? So that's right out the gate. You know, if you're looking at this from a very high level, that looks pretty good. Okay? That's very common sense. So Tesla's big things over the next 5 years. One, they need to finish Giga Berlin. Okay? Giga Berlin will be their first factory within Europe. Okay? And this factory is estimated to be able to do up to 2 million vehicles. This will be a big deal because this means that Tesla won't have to waste time or money or inefficiencies in transporting vehicles from China to Europe. Okay, Giga Berlin will be able to handle the European market. That will open this October. Okay, so that's coming up, and that'll be a quick check mark for them. And this is really a check mark that allows them to increase their production, right? So this is just going to be more revenue generating, better profit margins because they don't have to deal with transportation. They can get vehicles out to customers faster because they don't have to travel cross distance, right? So a lot of good things there for Tesla. They have to complete Giga Texas. This again is slated to be ready in October, maybe November. This again is a big deal because North America right now is the largest market in the world for EVs. It will eventually be China, but North America has the highest demand right now for Tesla. Okay, Tesla cannot fill it fast enough. So between Giga Texas, which is also supposed to be slated for another 2 million, plus Fremont, they'll be able to completely dominate the North American market. All right, they'll be able to pump out cars as fast as possible. What else does Tesla have? Tesla needs to continue to finish ramping up Giga Shanghai, right? Giga Shanghai is still ramping up. Right now, it's about just under 500,000 vehicles a year. That's the rate right now, right? That should get up to about 1, maybe 1.5 million by the time Shanghai is fully ramped up. Okay, so that's something else that they have to, work on over the next 5 years. But again, these are things that are just going to bring revenue in for Tesla. Okay, so, and keep in mind, with Berlin and with Texas, they're using the latest state-of-the-art manufacturing techniques. Okay, they're using gigapresses with special metals that Tesla invented. Okay, like when you look at this compared to Ford and GM, their factories were built in the 60s and 70s and 80s. They're welding and pressing and, water cooling steel parts. I mean, it's very archaic compared to Tesla. All right, so keep that in mind as well, right? Tesla has created the factories of the future, whereas GM and Ford, like I said, they're going to have to figure out how to modify something of the old and make it work for the new. One way or another, they're going to have to figure out how to do that. Tesla needs to finish full self-driving, okay? It is getting to that point where they need to put up or shut up. Okay, Tesla has been promising full self-driving for a couple years now. Elon has been promising it for a couple years now. And again, I always like to caveat, Elon time's a real thing, okay? Elon isn't always right on time. But to quote Elon, he always delivers. Now, a lot of people are getting frustrated. NHTSA has an investigation with Tesla. Is any of this fair? No, it's not. But the attention's there, and it's just the reality we live in. Tesla needs to finish FSD, make it viable for the public sooner than later for a few reasons. One, to get NHTSA and the media off of their ass. 2, in order to make an argument of safety, about saving lives, okay, the majority of deaths for children in the world come from automobile accidents. The third leading cause of death for anybody under 50 are automobile accidents. Okay, full self-driving will save lives. And the faster we get this out, the safer the world will be, the more lives we will save. Okay, this isn't just about profitability, robo-taxis, or anything like that. It's also about saving lives. Again, the leading cause of death for children is automobile accidents. That is sad and pathetic. Okay, and we have a chance to fix that and solve that. Tesla and Elon are doing this. So the sooner we get this out, the less chance there is for anybody to try to block this, any senators, governors, agencies, anything. Okay, so this is more of a life or death kind of situation for Tesla. They need to, get this out as fast as possible and as safe as possible, of course. Next, they need to go ahead and get the 4680 batteries from 80% viability to 90%. 90 to 95% viability, that will be essentially game set match for the battery world for this next decade. Okay, getting the 4680 batteries down or up to that 90-95% threshold will allow them to cut the cost of batteries for these EV vehicles in half. Okay, nobody else can do that. Nobody else will be able to compete against that. And this will be excellent for Tesla because they can do many things with this. Okay, right? It can reduce their margins. They can choose to make vehicles more affordable and charge less for them and still maintain the same type of profitability because they cost less to make. Okay, and this again will help accelerate the advent of sustainable energy, of renewable energy. Okay, so this is a very big deal. This is one of the biggest things Tesla needs to work towards. And right now they're seeing about 80% viability. About 6-7 months ago, they were only about 20 to 30%. So they made huge strides. And I imagine within the next 6 months, this will be complete. So with that said, these are the things that we have with GM, Ford, and Tesla. And the whole point of this video was to show a very high level point of view of how you can do some very basic critical analysis of stocks. Okay. Now with Tesla, I'm obviously very biased. I've spent a lot of time with this, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a lot of time to go in and just compare cash to debt against a given company's competitors. Okay. It doesn't have to be Tesla and GM and Ford. Okay. You could do this with Nike, Adidas, and Reeboks. You could do this with Home Depot and Lowe's, right? I mean, there's many things you can do, right? And then you just go in there and just read some news articles, see where their innovation is going. What are their plans for the future? What's their 5-year plan? And just using some common sense, you can slowly pick out what makes the most sense to you, right? What resonates with you? Does Ford and GM having to rethink how they do their manufacturing, creating new batteries, figuring out how to get into this autonomous vehicle thing, figuring out a way to make their cars profitable, versus Tesla, who has done all that, and all they're looking to do is open up new plants this October, releasing their full self-driving, which should happen on Friday, continuing with their battery production, right? I mean, which one makes the most sense to you? Less debt, more cash, more debt, less cash. These are the kind of things that it doesn't take a lot of rocket science, doesn't take a lot of time. The only other advice I would give is once you find something, once you've taken the time to do this, commit for the long haul. Okay. Warren Buffett is famous for saying that you need to have a yardstick to measure your investment. Okay. And what he means by that is you need a certain time frame to decide whether or not investment was worth it or not, whether the investment played out. And his yardstick was at the bare minimum 5 years. So until 5 years had gone by, he would never make a decision on whether or not an investment panned out well or bad. It could be 3 years, it could be down 60%. He would say, well, it hasn't been 5 years yet, right? And the whole point of this is don't try to time the market. Take your time, use your common sense, think about where the future is going, invest in a company that you believe in. And once you do that, leave your money there, okay? It's like your house. If you buy a house in a nice neighborhood, right? You're not gonna sell it every couple days just because it went up a little bit in value. That'd be asinine, right? That'd be silly. Don't do the same thing with your stocks, okay? Buy and hold for the long time. That's how you build real equity into your house. That's how you build real wealth and equity in the stock market. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this channel. I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. You know, the whole idea of this channel is really to not just cover Tesla, but also talk about different ways of investing against the grain, the way I like to do things, my methodology, what's worked for me, and it's been very successful between Amazon and Apple and now Tesla, right? These are the things that I just want to impart onto you, into the world, and you know, whether you agree or disagree, it's just another thought out there, another opinion, another thing to put into your own mind and make your own decisions. Don't be a sheep, make your own decisions. All right. Again, thank you all. If you made it to the end, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.